A Statue for Father by Isaac Asimov. Slightly reimagined by This Is Signal. In the original text, all characters are male. And a special thank you to Scorpion Bird for his suggestion of this story. First time. Really? But of course you have heard of it. Yes, I was sure you had. If you're really interested in the discovery, believe me, I would be delighted to tell you. It's a story I've always liked to tell, but not many people give me the chance. I've even been advised to keep the story under wraps. It interferes with the legends growing up about my mother. Still, I think the truth is valuable. There's a moral to it. A woman can spend her life devoting her energy solely to the satisfaction of her own curiosity, and then, quite accidentally, without ever intending anything of the sort, find herself the benefactor of humanity. Mom was just a theoretical physicist, devoted to the investigation of time travel. I don't think she ever gave a thought to what time travel might mean to Homo sapiens. She was just curious about the mathematical relationships that govern the universe, you see. Hungry? All the better. I imagine it will take nearly half an hour. They will do it properly for an official such as yourself. It's a matter of pride. To begin with, Mom was poor, as only a university professor can be poor. Eventually, though, she became wealthy. In the last years before her death, she was fabulously rich. And as for myself and my children and my grandchildren, well, you can see for yourself. They've put up statues to her, too. The oldest is on a hillside right there where the discovery was made. You can just see it out the window. Yes. Can you make out the inscription? Well, we're standing at a bad angle. No matter. By the time Mom got into time travel research, the whole problem had been given up by most physicists as a bad job. It had begun with a splash when the chronal funnels were first set up. Actually, they're not much to see. They're completely irrational and uncontrollable. What you see is distorted and wavery, 2 feet across at the most, and it vanishes quickly. Trying to focus on the past is like trying to focus on a feather caught in a hurricane that has gone mad. They tried poking grapples into the past, but it was just as unpredictable. Sometimes it was carried off successfully for a few seconds, with one scientist leaning hard against the grapple. But more often, a pile driver couldn't push through it. Nothing was ever obtained out of the past until, well, I'll get to that. After 50 years of no progress, physicists lost interest. The operational technique seemed a complete blind alley, a dead end. I can't honestly say I blame them as I look back on it. Some of them even tried to show the funnels didn't actually expose the past, but there had been too many sightings of living animals through the funnels, animals now extinct. Anyway, when time travel was almost forgotten, Mom stepped in. She talked to the government into giving her a grant to set up a chronal funnel of her own and tackled the matter all over again. I helped her in those days. I was fresh out of college with my own doctorate in physics. However, our combined efforts ran into bad trouble after a year or so. Mom had difficulty getting her grant renewed. Industry wasn't interested, and the university decided she was besmirching their reputation for being so single-minded in investigating a dead field. The dean of the graduate school, who understood only the financial end of scholarship, began hinting she switched to more lucrative fields, and ended by forcing her out. Of course, the dean, still alive and still counting grant dollars when Mom died, probably felt quite foolish, I imagine, when Mom left the school $1 million free and clear in her will, with a codicil canceling the bequest on the ground that the dean lacked vision. But that was merely posthumous revenge. Years before that, I don't wish to dictate, but please don't have any more of the breadsticks. The clear soup eaten slowly to prevent a too sharp appetite will do. Anyway, we managed somehow. Mom kept the equipment we bought with the grant money, moved it out of the university, and set it up here. Those first years on our own were brutal, and I kept urging her to give up. She never would. She was indomitable, always managing to find $1,000 somewhere when we needed it. Life went on, but she allowed nothing to interfere with her research. Father died, Mom mourned, and returned to her task. I married. I had a son, then a daughter, couldn't always be at her side. She carried on without me. She broke her leg and worked with a cast impeding her for months. So I gave her the credit. I helped, of course. I did consulting work on the side and carried on negotiation with Washington, but she was the life and soul of the project. Despite that, we weren't getting anywhere. And the money we managed to scourge might just as well have been poured into one of the chronofunnels. Not that it would have passed through. After, we never once managed to grapple through the funnel. We came near on only one occasion. We had the grapple about 2 inches out the other, and then focus changed. It snapped off clean, and somewhere in the Mesozoic, there is a man-made piece of steel rod rusting in a riverbank. Then one day, the crucial day, the focus held for 10 long minutes, something for which the odds are less than 1 in a trillion. Lord, the frenzies of excitement we experienced when we set up the cameras. We could see living creatures just on the other side of the funnel moving energetically. Then, to top it off, the chronofunnel grew permeable until you might have sworn there was nothing but air between the past and ourselves. The whole permeability must have been connected with the long holding of the focus, but we've never been able to prove that it did. Of course, we had no grapple handy, wouldn't you know? But the low permeability was clear enough because something just fed through, moving from the then to the now. Thunderstruck, acting simply on blind instinct, I reached forward and caught it. At that moment we lost focus, but it no longer left us embedded and despairing. We were both staring in wild surmise at what I held. It was a mass of caked and dried mud, shaved off clean where it struck the borders of the chronofunnel, and on the mud cake were 14 eggs the size of duck eggs. I said, "Dinosaur eggs, do you suppose they really are?" Mom said, "Maybe. We can't tell for sure." "Unless we hatch them," I said in sudden, almost uncontrollable excitement. I put them down as though they were platinum. They felt warm with the heat of the primeval sun. I said, "Mom, if we hatch them, we'll have creatures that have been extinct for more than 100 million years. It will be the first case of something actually brought out of the past. If we announce this... I was thinking of the grants we could get from the publicity, of all it would mean to Mom. I was seeing the look of consternation on the dean's face. But Mom took a different view of the matter. She said firmly, "Not a word, daughter. If this gets out, we will have 20 research teams on the trail of the chronofunnels, cutting off my advance. No. Once I have solved the riddle of the funnels, you can make all the announcements you want. Until then, we keep silent. Daughter, don't look at me like that. I'll have the answer in a year. I am sure of it." I was a little less confident. But those eggs, I felt convinced, would arm us with all the proof we needed. I set up a large oven with blood heat. It circulated air and moisture. I rigged up an alarm that would sound the first signs of motion within the eggs. They hatched at 3 a.m., 19 days later, and they were 14 wee kangaroos with greenish scales, clawed hind legs, plump little things, with thin whiplash tails. I thought at first they were Tyrannosauri, but they were too small for that species of dinosaur. Months passed, and I could see they weren't going to grow any larger than moderate-sized dogs. Mom seemed disappointed, but I held on hoping she would let me use them for publicity. One died before maturity, and one was killed in a scuffle, but the other 12 survived. 5 males and 7 females. I fed them chopped carrots, boiled eggs, and milk, and grew quite fond of them. They were fearfully stupid, and yet gentle. They were truly beautiful. Their scales, oh, well, it's silly to describe them. Those original publicity pictures have made their rounds. Though, come to think of it, I don't know about Mars. Oh, there too. Well, good. But it took a long time for the pictures to make an impression on the public, let alone the sight of the creatures in the flesh. Mom remained intransigent. A year passed, 2, and finally 3. We had no luck whatsoever with the chronofunnels. The one break was not repeated, and still Mom would not give in. 5 of our females laid eggs, and soon I had over 50 of the creatures on my hands. "What shall I do with them?" I demanded. "Kill them off," she said. Well, I couldn't do that, of course. "Henry, is it almost ready?" "Good." We had reached the end of resources when it happened. No more money was available. I had tried everywhere and met with consistent rebuffs. I was even glad, because it seemed to me that Mom would have to give in now. But with a chin that was firm and indomitably set, she coolly set up another experiment. I swear to you, if the accident had not happened, the truth would have eluded us forever. Humanity would have been deprived of one of its greatest boons. It happens that way sometimes. Perkins spots a purple tinge in his gunk and comes up with aniline dyes. Remsen puts a contaminated finger to his lips and discovers saccharin. Goodyear drops a mixture on the stove and finds the secret of vulcanization. With us, it was a half-grown dinosaur wandering into the main research lab. They had become so numerous, I hadn't been able to keep track of them. The dinosaur stepped right across 2 contact points, which happened to be open, just at the point where the plaque immortalizing the event is now located. I am convinced that such happenstance couldn't occur again in 1,000 years. There was a blinding flash, blistering shortcut, and the chrono funnel, which had just been set up, vanished in a rainbow of sparks. Even at that moment, really, we didn't know exactly what we had. All we knew was that the creature had short-circuited and perhaps destroyed $200,000 worth of equipment, and that we were completely ruined financially. All we had to show was one thoroughly roasted dinosaur. We slightly scorched ourselves, but the dinosaur got the full concentration of the field energies. We could smell it. The air was saturated with its aroma. Mom and I looked at each other in amazement. I picked it up gingerly with a pair of tongs. It was black and charred on the outside, but the burnt scales crumbled away at a touch, carrying the skin with it. Under the char was white, firm flesh that resembled chicken. I couldn't resist tasting it, but it resembled chicken the way Jupiter resembles an asteroid. Believe me or not, with our scientific work reduced to rubble about us, we sat there in seventh heaven and devoured dinosaur. Parts were burnt, parts were nearly raw. It hadn't been dressed, but we didn't stop until we had picked the bones clean. Finally I said, "Mom, we've got to raise them gloriously and systematically for food purposes." Mom had to agree. We were completely broke. I got a loan from the bank by inviting the president to dinner and feeding him dinosaur. It has never failed to work. No one who has once tasted what we now call Dyna Chicken can rest content with ordinary fare. A meal without Dyna Chicken is a meal we choke down to keep body and soul together. Only Dyna Chicken is food. Our family still owns the only herd of Dyna Chickens in existence, and we are the only suppliers for the worldwide chain of restaurants. This is the first and oldest, which has grown up about it. Poor Mom. She was never happy except for those unique moments when she was actually eating Dyna Chicken. She continued working on the chrono funnels, and so did 20 other research teams, which, as she had predicted, jumped in. Nothing ever came of it, though, to this day. Nothing except Dyna Chicken. Ah, Pierre, thank you. A superlative job. Now, sir, if you will allow me to carve. No salt now, and just a trace of the sauce. That's right. Ah, that is precisely the expression I always see on the face of a man who experiences his first taste of the delight. A grateful humanity contributed $50,000 to have a statue on the hillside put up, but even that tribute failed to make Mom happy. All she could see was the inscription, "The woman who gave Dyna Chicken to the world." You see, to her dying day, she wanted only one thing, to find the secret of time travel. For all that she was the benefactor of humanity, she died with her curiosity unsatisfied.